Okay, we'll call the meeting in order.
Shall we start with Steve
Sure,
and then?
do whatever you want.
Well, not what I want, don't make no difference to me.
Let's do it.
Maybe he had other
Thanks.
things to do.
Thanks for coming, Steve. How you doing?
Well, good afternoon. I know this is an emergency meeting. I was just kind of thought I should come. I don't know if there's anything specific you want me to share with you.
I'm the spokesman for me, which don't mean it, you know that, Steve.
I know that.
We were discussing the loan
Mhm.
and my view is that that's too expensive for us. And I think we kind of thought, and maybe even Mr. Botar thought that we should not just cancel it, we should see if we could just leave it on hold for a little while till we see if it's necessary. And what are our expenses? I think the letter I got called for 4 3/4% interest and $1,500 application fee. Is that somewhere near right?
Well, first of all, I certainly happy to work with the IDA board and communicate with the CCDC board and try to work between the organizations to try to help the project along. That's my goal. As far as, I'm not sure what the board wants to see, if that's what you want to see, Herb, or what the board wants to see. But to answer your question, the term sheet that the CCDC approved on June 28th was prime rate, which is now 0.75% higher, actually. It was 4.75%, and they've stuck with that. There was a interest-only loan for 12 months because we figured that matched the idea that the project would be complete before 12 months was over, and that you would have the funding available through the pass-through of the county funds to just pay that off with a balloon payment at the end. So it was interest only following closing at 4.75%, which came out to something like $1,500 a month for interest only payments for the 12-month term. And the board had passed a policy document back in October that said any loans that came to the CCDC board that were $150,000 and over would be a $1,500 application fee to try to cover the cost of the CCDC being in existence, similar to the way the IDA charges fees. Unless they change that, policy, they don't want to start going against their own policy that they just adopted. So that's where they were at. I think the board would be happy to entertain more flexible drawdown schedule that starts the interest only payments when you're ready to draw down the loan. Although I do think that the board is once they commit to the loan, they have to take that $400,000 and set it aside. You can't loan it to anybody else, so they don't want it hanging out there forever. So, I think that maybe a 6-month term of, waiting and seeing if you need it, and then being able to draw down. I would suggest if you wanted to wait to do a drawdown and not have the interest only payments start until the drawdown starts, that I would suggest that we would close the loan and go to closing so that it's really just a phone call to do the drawdown and not have to okay, we're ready, we need the loan, let's go to closing kind of a thing.
Yeah, I find fault with almost everything, that.
Yeah.
But I called and checked, you're getting less than 0.1% of interest on it and charging us almost 5%.
Well,
And I don't think we're going to need the money. That's just me. I think Rick has got the $400,000 from the county set up so that we could draw down on that if we needed to, and that we have somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000-600,000 of our money that we could possibly use. And at the time we applied for it, we had no idea whether this grant was really coming through or not. And therefore, if the grant didn't come through, we would need the county's money plus our money plus that to do the sewer project. And I do too much talking.
No, but it's just a little disappointing, and I can understand the policy, especially with an outside third party or some other folks you're gonna lend the money to, but it seems like we're sister organizations with the same goals.
I can appreciate that, and I actually agree with that. But I think that the board would have to meet and discuss the policy and then amend their policy. Maybe they'll do that before the 6 months, term of, or the drawdowns begin. But, I just, that's the policy that they approved, and it's just not good governance for the board to establish a policy and then change it, willy-nilly. I don't think they thought about that an IDA might come to them with a loan when they did the policy back in October. I think they were really trying to protect themselves from, people putting in large loan applications and not, following through with them. Or
We've had the same deal with
other
the-
not-for-profits putting in loan applications to try to cover their costs.
We've had the same
Until
deal
they're
with the pilot programs. That's why we've done similar.
Right. So it really wasn't a policy that was established for the IDA. It's just one that was established last fall.
So you would like to know whether we are interested in the loan or not within a month or so, or you want to know tonight?
I'm really here to provide service to the IDA
Okay.
board.
Okay,
So that's what I'm trying to do. So I did call the CCDC board meeting and discuss it with them. They did express some willingness to take a look at the policy, but they didn't want to, on a quick meeting, actually it was a virtual meeting without anybody sitting at the table.
Oh, that's understandable.
yes,
They didn't want to change the policy right then,
Mm.
but they did authorize a different term sheet that would, that really kept the $1,500 fee in place with the idea that maybe they'll change it before we go to closing or something like that, when they have a subsequent meeting. But what they would say is that everything would be the same, still $400,000 loan, they'd still stick to the 4.75% prime rate. I'll still do a 1-year term, because I think that's what you would need. And in the event, and this was just something they discussed, at one point, if something happens in the project and it looks like it's going to take 2 years or something like that, we would probably go back and, amend and re-amortize, the loan terms or something like that. But a 1-year term, the principal payment grace period, in other words, no principal, interest only, would begin on the first month following the first drawdown. So we could close and you could say, we don't need the money right now. And you could do that for up to 6 months. But at some point, up to 6 months, with the CCDC holding that $400,000, for you, we would expect that at that point you would draw it down. And at that point, you would start paying the interest-only payments, amortized over a 12-month period, which would be the same amount that the original one was. Now, I would be happy to put this in a revised term sheet, Ray, because it's a lot to take in just at this meeting, and send it to you. But to try to help this board and the CCDC, I called a meeting yesterday, spoke to the board, got their authorization to change the term sheet, so that I could speak to you next Tuesday, but since you had a meeting today, I'm here.
We do have the grant, and we are somewhat up in the air as to the timetable for it. But I would think we would know within a month whether we were going to have the loan or not, and that would let you not tie that up if you want. I would postpone the decision for a month if you would be agreeable, Ray.
Fine.
If he would be,
Oh, yeah, that's fine. You want to do that? That's fine.
And John, you're on the board, although you can't vote because you have many conflicts of interest.
I'm conflicted out, yeah. The only thing again, I am on both boards, so, the one thing I'm not really conflicted about, since I'm not gonna vote. And I'm not gonna specifically say it, but I don't think it's out of, the realm of good business for us as an IDA board to ask for fees for our services. And I don't think it's the realm of good business for a different organization to also ask for fees for their services. And you'll find that if you go anywhere else, including your attorneys and including your banks and anybody else, they're gonna ask for services.
I know, I just thought we were friends, John.
We are friends, that's why I'm only gonna charge you $1.25.
No, it's good to know, it's good to know a banker.
Yeah. But, so that's the only thing I'm conflicted on with both sides, so I won't vote on it, but, as Steve said, we did meet yesterday. And, if the reality is, if we don't need it, we don't need it, and if we do, we do, and if we do, then.
But I don't mind Steve saying that he would like a timetable for us to make
Yes,
up our
yeah.
mind, so the money is available for him to loan to somebody else at 5.25% if he chooses to do.
Well, I mean, obviously,
I'm just being smart, John.
I'd rather be ahead of it than behind it.
Right.
If we get down the road and all of a sudden we need some money to bridge something until something comes in. And then we go, oh my gosh, Steve, can we get the money now? And he's gonna go, let me think about it, I'll get back to you, right?
No, I understand.
Yes.
It's,
I just, if I may clarify this one point. Ms. Marshall, you said that, Rick has made arrangements for us to be able to draw down on the county line.
I was gonna say something about that.
Okay.
I think what Mr. Marshall was referring to was the agreement between this board and the authority regarding the grant that went to the authority. It has a provision that there could be draws upon mutual agreement of both parties, both boards.
That's what I was trying to make
So,
reference.
which boards are we doing? This one and.
IDA and water and sewer.
The grant went to the Water and Sewer Authority.
Right.
One of the two contingencies was that there was an agreement regarding the sewer line between both boards that has been completed and sent to Mr. Westfall. And one of the provisions in that is what Mr. Marshall was alluding to. Upon agreement of both boards, there could be draws from that grant funds rather than waiting to the end of the project. That's what he was alluding to.
You mean the funds that the county's giving us, those are, are you considering those grant funds?
Talking about the
$400,000.
That's the fund he's talking about,
Right,
yes.
from the county to the authority, not to this
County,
board.
right, county to the authority. We're talking about accessing that if needed.
Upon mutual agreement of both boards. Yep.
And so when will the county I thought it was going to be done on completion of the project. Are you saying the county will give the sewer authority that money sooner than that?
I don't know when they're giving it, but I don't know when it's gonna actually be triggered to go from the county. I know the two contingencies have been
To
satisfied.
trigger it was, you had to have
The
those
agreement.
agreements signed by both, and you have both of them signed and both.
Yep,
turned
and
in.
then with your assistance, we got that email or something from the milk plant that they planned on going ahead with their expansion.
Yes.
So,
Those were the contingencies on getting the
Yeah.
money, that we have the agreement.
so when the
signed.
treasurer's office processes that, I'm not sure. I'm like,
That's an appropriation from the county legislature to the water and sewer authority, so that the money's parked at the water and sewer authority
No, it's not.
until such time as they accept the improvements. So we got to complete the sewer project.
That's
And
not.
when the sewer authority says it's done, they'll transfer 400,000 to the IDA.
Well, that's the way I understood it, Justin. This is John, and that's why this is the first, because if we can tap into that 400, it almost makes the loan moot, because the 400 is to hold us over until the project's done and we pay ourselves back. But I'm hearing too, Justin, you're saying when the project's complete, Steve's saying is when the project's complete, but two others are saying, or at least one other is saying that it'll be available if we need it.
No, it will not. It's only available when the project is done.
Okay,
The CCDC loan is built as a credit line, so the IDA can pay its contractor during the life of the project. There's no guarantee that the EDA is going to timely reimburse the grant under 30 days to keep our contractor satisfied. So if the IDA runs through its own fund balance that's allocated to this project, and there's still $300,000 or $400,000 to be paid out to the contractor, we have a means to draw on CCDC loan money, finish the project, pay out our contractor. And then as soon as the Water and Sewer Authority accepts the sewer line is done, we draw those funds and pay back CCDC.
right,
John,
that's the way I understood it.
Rick,
Very, very little interest in being generated and paid to CCDC. It's just a backup. Because at the end of the day, when the IDA signs its construction contract, it needs to have the funds to pay that contractor on hand.
I thought we changed discussions. I thought we were talking about the Cuba County legislator money.
We were.
We are.
you and Justin have.
Well, on the signed agreement between the authority and this board, number 4 says unless otherwise agreed to earlier by the parties. Upon the satisfactory completion of the agency sewer project, the agency will sell and transfer the agency sewer project to the authority, and the authority will pay to the agency the sum of $400,000. But it says upon unless otherwise agreed to earlier by the parties. That's why I mentioned that it would have to be some agreement between the both respective boards if that were to be any type of request for a partial draw or something.
We should probably ask Bob to go back to the legislators and see if we can get the money earlier.
They can't make a grant to the IDA. The idea was to park it at the Water and Sewer Authority and have it paid out when there is a functioning sewer system.
Okay,
Not so weird.
So you got a question?
the functioning sewer system was an upgrade in the sewer system. Once that's complete, is money can be drawn? I mean,
I can't speak to when the treasurer's office or when the county ledge or whoever is going to authorize the transfer to the authority at those funds. I can't speak to that. I do not know. All I know is we satisfy the 2 conditions of the grant. The grant resolution.
Go ahead, Steve.
I don't have the documents with me, but there's 2 parts on the county side. One is the resolution that authorized the funding, and whatever that criteria might be embedded in that. And then I believe that required some sort of agreement between the county and the Water and Sewer Authority. So there's an agreement there, and then there's the agreement between the Water and Sewer Authority and the IDA. So if those all 3 could work together and you could treat that like a line of credit, that would be great, but I don't know that that's in place. I mean, I think I would explore that and confirm that.
That's something you
before
could
you
look
make-
into.
Yeah.
There's no confusion here that the county can't appropriate to the IDA, so it can't be used as a draw.
You know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
the county's simply setting up an account in a county. I mean, just literally the treasurer is putting $400,000 in a separated, segregated account. And when the Water and Sewer Authority says, okay, the sewer's running, the Water and Sewer Authority will direct the $400,000 to the IDA.
But Justin, it is your belief that until that sewer is
Just look into
running,
having.
that the money cannot leave the Water and Sewer Authority's accounts.
Unless we can get Bob to ask the legislators to move it forward.
But Justin's saying the county can't give it to us.
I think they can do what they like.
They can give it to the water and sewer. I mean, no, they cannot give it to the IDA. It has to funnel through the Water and Sewer Authority
Mhm.
to the project. And that's where,
Well, okay, I think that the
That's where the
sticking
agreement
point
was.
here before, I would want to resolve is,
I
it's
think,
one thing to move it over into the Water and Sewer Authority.
Right.
It's quite another for them to give it to us before the project is done. That's what I
Right,
want to figure out.
exactly.
That's my question.
My experience with the legislature, I don't know if I'd want to put a red flag up and bring this up again if it's already been approved, but that's up to Bob.
You okay with that, Bob? Going back or do we send a new guy in?
I think he's done well for us so far, so.
I think the only question is, that I think is a legitimate question, is when is the money going to be available from the county to the Water and Sewer Authority? Because even though the Water and Sewer Authority can't give the money to the IDA, they can pay part of the bills of they can pay part of the bills of the construction of the sewer line that's going to be theirs. That's just a stupid legal question that certainly can be handled. The only question I see that needs to be answered is when the money is going to be available from the county to send to the Water and Sewer Authority. If you can find that out, we'll help you with it. I think that's the only question.
Yeah.
Well,
That's it. He's right.
all right,
That's the only
well,
question.
hold on. So that's your question. And my question, Justin, is once the sewer authority receives the money, whether it's tomorrow or in December, can they, before the project is complete, release any of that money and/or, Mr. Marshall brings up a good point about paying part of the fees during the construction. Can the sewer authority pay for some of the bills that come up during construction? Can they do that before the project is complete?
Would you buy a half a car? That's kind of a joke.
Right now, yes.
The concept is that instead of buying a dedicated sewer system for $1, the sewer authority is going to take delivery and approve the sewer system and transfer $400,000 when it's done. I don't know how they pay IDA bills, because they don't have the easements yet. They don't have the pipes yet. They wouldn't own anything yet. The sewer system is going to be transferred pursuant to a bills of sale and transferred easements and rights of way from the IDA when it's done. So it's a policy question. I'm not sure the Water and Sewer Authority would use those funds towards something that isn't completed yet.
Well, if we even forget about the Water and Sewer Authority, this board has $600,000 to $800,000 in cash that unless you tell us we can't use, we can use that to pay bills on that sewer line anytime we want to. And that $600,000 to $800,000 is certainly going to cover whatever money we need until we can draw money against a grant that we've already been awarded. And that solves the need for outside money, period.
Well, it does and it doesn't, but in a sense it does, and you've addressed the need for outside money. But the question before us right now was, do you need the loan or you don't need the loan? And then the topic came up that we don't need it because the county's gonna give the sewer authority the money and they can give it to us. So now we're saying that
I
we're not counting on that
mentioned
$400,000.
both of those sources of money
Okay,
when I said that I do not believe that we're going to need the money. I didn't just use the county money to the water and sewer. I said the county's money to the water and sewer plus the cash that this board has on hand. Between the two of them, according to Mr. Botar, we can draw money as work is completed. Now, it's not going to come immediately or overnight, but we can draw money as the work is completed.
That's correct.
And between the ability to do that from our grant and the money we have in hand, I want to be fair with Steve. I don't want him to hold on to this money longer than he needs to, but I don't want to have us or whoever is liable for expenses to be paying 5% interest plus an application fee if we don't need it. If you think we have enough money to throw away like that, so be it, do it, but I don't.
That's not the point. The point is that when we sign the contract, we'll have about $1.1 million in a liability to a contractor and something like $600,000 or $800,000 in cash when we sign it.
Yeah,
We have 635, right, 635 available plus 10 restricted.
Right.
So when we complete when we get our first requisition from our contractor, let's say it's $300,000 and we have maybe a 3-month period for this project. Is the EDA gonna on a rolling basis respond within 2 weeks or 4 weeks with our cash? I doubt it. It may be 60 to 90 days on a reimbursement basis and our contractor is penalizing us.
well, it'll be 60, 90 days, but we're not gonna pay the contractor instantly either, so you got 30, 45 days of float there. So you only really need to cover the 45 days. But you bring up a good point. We should just do a cash flow analysis.
Yeah.
And if we need to draw on the CCDC loan, and we might only need to draw at some point, maybe 100,000, and then finish the project 30 days later, and then get the 400 from CCD or from the Water and Sewer Authority.
Well, let's do the cash flow analysis, then we'll burn that bridge when we cross it.
That's why we have a financial person here.
Yeah.
And the bigger
Um,
issue is signing the
educated.
construction contract and having funds available. Because the county water and sewer authority funds are available upon completion. So the IDA signing a construction contract has cash and a line of credit. That's really the bottom line concept here, and we may never need to hit that line of credit. Hopefully you don't. And if you do, maybe it's a 2-month turnaround and there's a couple months of interest to CCDC and then everything's knocked out. But it's,
Well, we've established, Steve said we have another month.
Yeah.
Before we decide, that's
Oh, yeah, no,
that's-
yeah, I mean,
very fair,
And
Steve.
he's also offered basically a remote closing where you're closed, but you're not incurred anything
Yeah,
until.
That's
6
fair,
months.
that's
right,
fair
so
enough.
we
Very
tried to set it
important.
up so that if we went to closing, you don't have to draw anything down for 6 months. But at some point,
Use it or lose it.
yeah.
Do something.
That's
Yeah, I
fair.
think Andy's idea of doing a cash flow analysis.
Yeah.
So we know what the heck we're doing.
Yep, that's fair.
And then that also we get, I think tabling it for a month or so, that gives Bob an opportunity to twist a few arms and. we see what
I don't
else we
know.
can
I-
do.
First spreadsheet you can work on.
It's up to Bob, but with the discussion that,
Well, I don't think going back, but just asking the
Yeah.
treasurer when.
discussion we had at Soil and Water this morning with Mark. He said this is a pretty, these monies are pretty contentious. Do you want to bring this back up and hash it over again?
No, but you can talk to the treasurer.
Okay,
We're through with this discussion
Yes.
for now.
Yeah.
the loan wouldn't close until after we sign a construction contract. We haven't even gone out to bid yet. So I wouldn't think the loan would close until maybe October at this point, and then you've got until April to draw on the thing. They might start construction in March, April, and be done by June.
depends what kind of winter we have.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, so it's, we have a little time to worry about this a little bit later on, perhaps.
All right, well, we're gonna table, so we
Yeah.
can stop beating this dead horse.
Steve?
to
Yes.
death.
Just to clarify things a little bit for the board. The CCDC has approved the loan for $400,000.
Mhm.
They've
Thank you.
actually authorized the closing, if you folks, sign the term sheet or whatever. Yesterday, they approved an amended term sheet that provides more of the flexibility, I think, this CCIDA is looking for, although I'm still gonna charge her $1,500 just for the aggravation. Personally.
Personally.
That's just.
We can take up a collection.
And if I can't joke with her after 20 years of knowing, I might as well wash it up.
Okay.
That's right.
But what I would suggest is that approval is still in place. I'll send the revised term sheet to you, Ray, so that you have that information as you're doing your cash flow analysis and making your decisions.
Wonderful.
That's very,
Hmm?
fair. Steve,
Send it to
that's
Mike.
very fair.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay,
Did you write that down, what he said?
Right here.
I
No,
didn't
it's
write
very
down what-
fair.
And I had him sign it.
Yeah.
Copy me too. That.
okay. We good with that?
Yep.
All righty. Grant award, EDA. Dave, thank you for coming.
No, good to be here.
Thank you for the good news and the award.
You got it. You got it. It's awarded. And there's a lot of work to do going forward. Good to have your new director on board. He's got to sit down with all the requirements. And it's laid out very straightforward, all of EDA's processes, procedures, requirements. To move forward. I mean, the first step is, I don't know if you require a resolution authorizing your CEO to sign the grant agreement, but it needs to be signed immediately. There was 30 days from the date of grant award. The grant award was July 27th. So I would recommend a resolution right now. We can have Mike sign the grant.
Could I ask David a question on that? I met just this afternoon early, me and Rick with the Water and Sewer Authority, and told them to go ahead and sign their part of this agreement. They held up because they knew that the name on the IDA part of it was the wrong name.
I've already changed it.
So we do have Mr. Miller's name on ours, and it's all right for them to sign theirs the way it was. Is that correct?
I would prefer that they sign the new form with, so that we have one.
Janine's on the phone right now. Her,
Oh,
so
okay.
she's on the call.
Janine, did you hear what David Botar said?
Yes, I did. And what I could do is I could come tomorrow and meet and sign that document.
Okay,
That
that, she'll come here tomorrow and sign the corrected one, and then it's all signed. I was concerned because it had a 60-day period that this has to be signed, or they could conceivably stop the grant.
30 days.
I'm sorry. I
Just
Well,
accept.
I move that we have Mr. Miller sign it.
I would second it.
Motion made and seconded that
authorize Mr. Miller to sign. To authorize him to sign.
Mike Miller, our CEO, execute his signature to move the grant forward. That the word is discussion. Any further comment? All in favor?
All right,
I,
Opposed? There you go.
so you got your
Official
first
act.
win already.
So if someone could just let me know when I could come tomorrow and I can sign it. I don't know, Mike, if you want to give me a call or let me know, email, and we'll make arrangements.
Well,
Just sign it.
are you here tomorrow? or-
Yes.
Yeah, Janine, Mike's here tomorrow.
So. No, just joking.
Yeah, so is her.
Yeah, that's fine. He knows how to get a hold of me, so we'll just meet and I'll sign it. Thank you.
Does anyone else need to sign?
she and you are the only people I think that need
It's
to
a lot
sign.
of responsibility, so.
And then you're gonna transmit it to Mr. Botar, is that how it goes? Okay. Just copy me on the email, if you don't mind, Mr. Botar.
So once that's signed, then there's some work to do. I don't know, Rick, if you've weighed into it, the regulations, but there's some legal work, some engineering work. I assume the most pressing issue is we gotta get this thing out to bid. Right? And, as I've been saying right along, it does have to be bid. So let's assume we're all on that page. In order for it to be bid, you have to have your engineering documents, your plans and specifications prepared, and EDA's requirements added to the bid document. Question I have there is, the way the budget is set up right now, the EDA approved budget for this project is a little over $100,000 in change in the budget. I have it right in front of me. to pay for engineering costs associated with this project. Have to get into the weeds for a second, so just bear with me, and it's straightforward, but in order for the engineering costs to be eligible for reimbursement, you either have to prove to EDA that you already went through a procurement process to select the engineer that you're using. I assume you're continuing to use CNS. I was not part of that process at all. I had no idea that was what was done by CCIDA/IDA, but it's the IDA to enter into an arrangement with CNS. But to meet EDA's requirements, if you did it previously, and if you met EDA's requirements, which are very simple, you have to advertise, solicit proposals. It does not have to be tied to low bid. Professional services are, the quality of the services. So you solicit proposals, you received them, you reviewed them, and you selected a firm. But it has to be, you can't, what EDA will not accept is if the IDA simply internally said, well, let's use CNS, which could have been a rational decision with the IDA, but that does not meet EDA's requirements. So if you went through a procurement process.
That's to rebid, is that what you're talking about?
Well,
No.
right, so if you want to use EDA's money to pay CNS for their services, you either had to procure CNS previously according to general procurement rules, or you have to go out with a new solicitation.
But I think we did. doing our-
Taylor can just look at the prior meeting minutes and the CNS files and just back that up. It's just, we don't need to take a left turn on this. Yeah.
I know back, that was over a year ago now, when Tracy was here, she called myself. I know there were some other engineering companies that she called as well too for pricing. So I'm sure there was a competitive point in that as far as that goes. So I know there was some type of a dialogue between Tracy and I and also other engineering companies. I don't know who they were. I wasn't privy to that, but so something's out there, I believe.
You know what time period that was?
Probably
If you send me your initial engagement letter, because I bet you in the board packet, if there were other proposals, they would be in that board packet, which is in our website for direct.
Yeah,
Can you send that to me?
Yes.
Okay.
So
and we'll have to see if that's sufficient.
Well, what you're saying
We could
is,
pass a resolution.
we don't use
If it doesn't-
grant money to pay CNS or whoever, then we don't have to go
You don't
out.
have to.
correct.
I'm sorry.
I
Say
wanted-
that again?
If you're not seeking reimbursement.
If we pay CNS out of our own pocket, then we don't have to go out for bid for them, right?
Correct.
Not to bed, but all right.
Or if it's sufficient.
Or whoever.
We don't have to go out for bid for the engineer.
Engineer.
We still have to rebid the project.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I would
I
like
mean, we
to,
can resolve this engineering procurement, I think, very quickly. Either there was a process, and Mark, I understand.
We're gonna be able to tell, by the end of the week, he's gonna send me the, and I'll work with the staff here, and we'll look at we'll see what they have on file, and we'll see what's in the board packets. Because it might have been something in the minutes that says, okay, I contacted XYZ, no response back. CNS, here's their proposal dated such and such. We can look at that pretty quickly in the next couple of days.
You got a limited time frame. Correct, 30 days. You
No.
say it has to be done by.
No, that was
No.
just signing.
It was signing the award.
We're done with
So we could do that.
That's- will be
Ray,
resolved.
if I could,
Sure.
I'm probably trying to make everybody here mad at me, which I do anyway, but.
Usually at least once a meeting.
Almost all the time. Mr. Gokar was on vacation. He very, very nicely called me and told me that we were going to get the grant on Wednesday, but he would shoot me if I let anybody know about it. And nobody knew about it, and the grant was announced properly, but I knew he wasn't here. And when I got the copy of the grant, it said that it had to be signed in 30 days. and I was concerned that the wrong name was on it, so I had a guy by the name of Mark Callipy, who was the grant person for the Water and Sewer Authority, go over the grant and look at it. And he gave me and all of our board a review. I tried to call here to get a hold of Mr. Miller when he was going to give the report on that. And it was a period of time that he wasn't working for whatever reason, don't make any difference, but he was not available. So he gave that report to the Water and Sewer group last Wednesday, was it, Andy?
Yes.
I forget.
Wednesday or
when-
Tuesday.
I forget when it was, but he come up and Mark has done some work. We have a current contractor who Mark is working on trying to get a settlement with him. Our grant writer, after reviewing the grant, said, and I'm not arguing with anybody, because I appreciate you working with us, said that no place he could find in it that it said it had to be rebid.
He's absolutely wrong.
He
Is wrong.
Okay, if I can just, he said there was a long list of things that had to be in the bid
That's correct.
in order for it to be successful. And so I had Rick send to Mark a copy of that so he could start working on the things that have to be in the bid. But for us to get to this point, we need to work out whatever we're going to work out with the current contractor. We've got a whole.
And
bunch-
we're in open session too, so I mean, if you think we should go in executive session, we will, but.
I don't say nothing that I
Okay.
don't say to everybody.
Okay.
If you stop me, if you want me to, but we need to find out how we're going to resolve the situation with the current contractor. And Mark needs to have the information that's necessary to write up a bid proposal that's including all of the stuff that's in this grant that has to be in the bid proposal. I don't know how much of that we need to resolve today, or if it's something we can discuss and resolve it at our meeting a week from yesterday. Fortunately, we have this meeting and we have another one in less than a week. So I don't know at what point you're at with what work you have to do.
Adding in the EDA requirements as part of the bid package, it's pretty straightforward. Correct me if I'm wrong, David, but it's just this material that's just added in.
To your company's basic form. Right, yeah,
Exactly. So it's a supplemental type of information that goes with it. That's pretty straightforward. That's not a difficult task to do.
Okay, do we not have to resolve at some point what we're doing with the current?
Oh,
Yes.
Yes, and we're working on that. We got the first, say, offer from.
and so that's executive session material, whenever,
So we're
yeah,
working on that.
Yes, don't let me get carried away here, Rick.
doesn't mean you listen.
I'll listen.
So we're working on closing out that contract. But the information that has to go in as far as the supplemental information from the EDA grant is pretty straightforward.
Okay.
It's like an attachment or something, reference.
Do you think you can have the reasonable agreement with them for our meeting next Tuesday?
Depends on a lot what you got to talk it over and see how you guys want to take a few situations.
But we
Maybe we could talk about an executive session where he is.
Yeah, but we have additional problems that I know, we have 2 loads of pipe that have been delivered to them. How we handle that pipe
Will
is
be
going to.
discussed in
Executive session.
That's part of the discussion.
I second.
I move we have an executive session
On contract
on
negotiations,
contract negotiations.
Is that a motion?
possible litigation.
I've made a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We're
And
in.
Steve can stay if he wants to, and Mr. Botar can stay, but that.
And Mr. Marshall can stay if
Okay, the other thing I wanted to bring up, we're starting a multi-million-dollar sewer project now that was a $1 million sewer project at one time. I
I hope
haven't,
it's not more, I know you.
we've just increased it $250,000 today.
Yeah.
But I know Justin sent some stuff he's done with the milk plant. I would absolutely like the milk plant people to be here. Somebody representing the milk plant that has some say at our meeting next Tuesday, so that we can, with them present, go over where we are and where we're going.
Kelly said they didn't come the last time. To just sit here and waste their time, to be dismissed. So
Yes, I felt really bad that there was a
I
bunch
talked
of
to Kelly, yeah.
circumstances that went into that.
Yeah, I know, I talked to Kelly, just to talk to Kelly,
The guy
but it's
that
not
was,
particularly about any issues.
the guy that was supposed to run that meeting at 4 o'clock got fired at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, about that time.
But so there was somewhat of an excuse for why we, but anyway, I would like to request that
Yep, I'll get hold of Kelly.
they be here at our meeting Tuesday.
I haven't seen him in a couple of days, but
And my last, thing, she was supposed to have contacted Grover, whatever their name is, the other plant, and and we need either that today or we need that available when we go further.
you had a meeting set up for him.
I did, yep, and they do have an interest in that southern parcel.
They did that?
They do,
Yeah.
they do.
They're interested in another parcel, is that
Yes.
what you, I can't
Yes,
hear.
they are interested in the southern parcel. They are working on kind of defining their project and the feasibility of it, and they should know by the end of this year whether or not they would be able to go forward with that. I'll be
Okay,
working
but
with them
at least,
to-
at least you've made the
Mhm.
touch and we're.
Yeah.
okay.
And
I move we adjourn.
Is there anything else come before us? Mike, anything?
No.
Is there a second?
No second, we're going to stay. here.
Yeah, I was going to say, all in favor?
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Really appreciate everything.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you for coming.
Yes.